Peacekeeping intelligence is to acquire the necessary information to help the senior leaders implement their mandate. The purpose of peacekeeping intelligence is really to support the leadership in making decisions to implement the mandate in peacekeeping missions. It's integrated information from the civilian point of view, police and the military, and they're all working together, again, to support the senior leadership. So it's very different because it follows the UN standards and UN principles, the UN norms and practices. And the UN, as you know, is all the countries in the world coming together in order to support a state in achieving peace or achieving whichever the mandates are. In the big peacekeeping missions, we talk about protecting civilians, for example, bringing back stability. There might be a lack of definition of that, but I mean, the mandates are very broad. The information is acquired through, of course, open sources. You can have by talking to the population, looking at the geography. The sources are multiple. The key in the UN is that it's non-clandestine. There must be also consent of the whole state, and it's not clandestine. It's more about making sense of the information out there, and again, to support the senior leadership. It's not about undercover operations. It's really about using the information around in order to help the leadership in interpreting the mandate. One of the constraints in which that the MONUSCO has to deal with is that, or even MINUSCA, is that the countries are very wide. They have to cover wide geographical areas. In those cases, technology can be used in terms of drone to take images, satellite images, to help them acquire information in order to take the right decisions on where to send troops, where to send support to the local population. So that's one way. You can also look through the social media as well in order to gain information or to get a sense of the perception of the population about the peacekeeping missions. So new technologies are used in order to gather and acquire information or peacekeeping intelligence, but also talking to the population one-on-one. But it really depends on the constraints of the context, whether these constraints be geographical, whether they be limited consent of the host states, that really depends. It's very mission specific. Well, the policy is new, and by new I mean it was first adopted by MEMS in 2017, so it's still in the process of being included in the different trainings. So there's a JMAC training, for example, in Norway, and certainly that the intelligence cycle is included in the course. By intelligence cycle, meaning how to acquire information, how to collect, assess it, evaluate it, make sense of it, provide an analysis, and disseminate it. So that's included in current trainings right now. There are also a military intelligence training. There are pilot courses that have been put forward in order to help the military officers gain a better sense of what are the UN practices in terms of acquiring information or peacekeeping intelligence. But it's in the pilot phases in most places, given that the policy is so new. So it's more a paradigm or a new term that is being included in already existing training. There are some standards and guiding documents that needs to be provided to set the norms of the organization, but there's also a need to adapt the training to this mission-specific context, caveats and constraints, which again are very different. For example, the use of social media might be a focus in some mission and less so in another missions, depending on the dynamics in the ground.